spending a little time today at the West Union Baptist Church. This is near Hillsboro, Oregon, and is the oldest Baptist church west of the Rocky Mountains. So get a little closer to the building here. There is a plaque here on the outside of it explaining a little bit about it. The West Union Baptist Church was organized, you see there, May 25th, 1844. So on this site was the cabin of David Lenox. David Lenox grew up in Catskill, New York, later moved to the Midwest, and while in Missouri in the mid-1840s, early 1840s, decided that he would be one that would get on the wagon train and follow the Oregon Trail. And he, as you can see from the sign there, was the captain of the first wagon train to cross the Rocky Mountains and complete the trip out here to what was then Oregon Territory. So on this site here where the church is at was his cabin. And so in his cabin, he used his land here to, the church met in his cabin, I should say, and a pastor, Snelling, Baptist pastor, came and joined and pastored the church for a little while. They soon built a church on this site, and the first baptism west of the Rocky Mountains was here, and then the also gave land for this church building to be built. On this site, the present building was dedicated just 10 years after Lenox arrived. So in 1855, this church building, present site, was built and established. So it is the oldest standing Baptist church building, Protestant church building west of the Rocky Mountains. And along with that, behind the church here is the oldest cemetery in the state of Oregon. I'll throw a couple pictures up there on this that shows some notable people that are buried here. But some of the very earliest pioneers to Oregon were here, and interestingly enough, were part of this West Union Baptist Church. And so with Lenox donating this land for the church here and for the property, he was quite a notable man in the beginnings of first Oregon Territory, then what would become the state of Oregon. And so this monument here is dedicated to David Lenox, and it's very beautiful. And as you can see here, Lenox, and then that coat of arms, David Lenox, born December 1st, 1807 in New York, died 1873, captain of the first wagon train to cross the Rocky Mountains. 1843, first thing he did was give his land for the founding of West Union Baptist Church, and his daughter becomes the first person baptized in Oregon through Vincent Snelling. And then later Hezekiah Johnson came, and his grave is not too far from here. Hope to go over there for a little while, a little bit later on, and see that as well. But the cemetery here, of course, notable here with the many men and women in the early days. This is Lenox's headstone, actual headstone on the other side there. Of course, you see the wagon from the wagon train, and then David and his wife Louisa. She lived just about 6 years longer than him. And then this statement: David Thomas Lenox donated this land for the church and cemetery from his original land grant and organized the First Baptist Church west of the Rocky Mountains in 1844. So really a great combination of history, the Oregon Trail and all that meant to pave the way for the way west. But I like to be reminded about this. And one last thing I'll mention, on that first wagon train that made it all the way out west that David Lenox was the captain of, he insisted that on Sundays the wagon train not move. And so that day was given for rest and for reading of the scriptures on their way out west. And then, of course, one of the very first things he did was to ensure that there was a church established here and the Lord's work carried on in this area. So David Lenox and his part in the history of the state of Oregon, of course, he with several others that are also buried in this cemetery, were a part of making certain that the state of Oregon was established, and in the meantime, they were faithful members here at the West Union Baptist Church near Hillsboro, Oregon.